Great time for another edition of Unlocked with Fox's Brock Huard. I'm Lance Taylor from the Next Round. It is on Disrupt the Media. Make sure you like, subscribe, give us that thumbs up. We would appreciate that. It is brought to you by our friends at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Use that code NEXTROUND. Get that first deposit bonus on the house at mybookie.ag. Big one this weekend, the Dallas Cowboys. And I will tell you, it wears me out. I know that they've got a huge fan base, but every time you turn on some NFL coverage, people are talking about the Dallas Cowboys. And I really wasn't a believer until I saw what they did to Philadelphia. Although Philadelphia is struggling, what they did to the Eagles last weekend, that to me was kind of a statement game from the Cowboys saying, hey, look, a lot of people say we play up and down the competition. This is what we're going to do to the division leader. On the other side, Buffalo, huge statement game for them too, going to Arrowhead, knocking off Kansas City and head above water right now in the playoff race. But, this is, it's kind of a must win on both sides if Dallas wants to win the East, possibly make a run at that number one seed. Mm-hmm. And then for Buffalo, just trying to get postseason, just playing for their postseason lives right now.
Yeah, just big picture, Lance, as you elevate on the plane 20,000 feet, just these fan bases first and foremost. The Bills Mafia versus, as you said, America's team, and people will puke when they hear that and stop with America's team. I'm so sick and tired of that. But there's a reason that Fox wants the Cowboys, that NBC wants the Cowboys. They're like Ohio State. I mean, they're just a ratings bonanza. When they're good, people do watch. You either love them, you hate them. You can't stand all the attention. They're bigger than life. And so and then on the other side is just this Bills Mafia that is so passionate. And you just, oh gosh, can they just do it, right? Can they just get over the hump? Can they just go and finish? Can they go and get to a Super Bowl? And is this window going to close? And all of the stuff off the field last week with the stories. And yeah, I mean, just kind of big picture, it's got storylines galore. And then you zoom down to field level and you're like, all right, Dak. All right, Josh, here we go. Rubber meets the road right here, man. These are the games. These are the moments. This is down the stretch where it matters, and it matters more. And for Dak, you're doing it at home. I mean, Lance, what are their numbers home? Scoring margins,
they're scoring.
Going into the Seahawks game, it was 42-12 the first 5 games. Seahawks pushed them. Seahawks played them better at home than anybody else did, even better than Philly did. But it is still, I think, a point differential of over 20 at home. So they've just blown the doors off everybody, undefeated. Now go to Buffalo. Now, Dak, go on the road. Now go handle an unbelievably hostile environment. I don't know what the weather forecast is, if it's going to be crazy or what, but let's go see you do this. Now, you want to be an MVP in this league? This is what MVPs do. Go win in Buffalo. Go after that number one seed. Go have the playoffs run through Dallas where you've run through everybody. And on the flip side, Josh, okay, man, you were, I think, Lance and me, right up there, preseason MVP. You've been on that tier for a while. People are believing in your skill set to do this. Don't turn the ball over. Don't hurt your football team. Make those unbelievably crazy gifted plays that you can make, but don't hurt your football team and go beat this front seven and go beat these Dallas Cowboys. What an unbelievable freaking game for the fan bases and for those two quarterbacks in particular.
Inside of Cowboys Nation, I think this would have been an insane question to ask back in September. But if you could only have one quarterback for this game, is it Dak Prescott or is it Josh Allen?
I would take the home quarterback in this one. So
yeah, just because he's used to the weather. How about if they play neutral site and they play this game in Nashville, Tennessee?
Probably Dak. Yeah, I think Dak with his weapons right now and the confidence he has in his tight ends. I will say this, the QB documentary, I think did more on Netflix last year for Kirk Cousins' Q rating than any show that I can remember, right? Kind of went into it who is this Coles model? He's kind of quirky. He's kind of different. But by the end of it, you're like, kind of love this dude. He is one tough sucker and he's likable. And I love his wife, his family, his story. He's real. He's genuine. I thought that really helped his Q rating. As far as this season goes, I don't know if there's a quarterback and head coach whose Q rating has improved more. We could probably argue this and maybe I haven't thought in totality of it, but I don't think anybody thought Mike McCarthy was this good, right? It was always Aaron Rodgers, and I think Collinsworth was saying that on the broadcast over the weekend. It was always, Aaron's in control of this, and then Aaron ultimately said, Mike, I'm done with you, and then he went to Dallas, and it was, somebody else's system, and finally he took it over. And I'll tell you, man, he's been innovative. They've been creative. Their pre-snap stuff is phenomenal. The usage of personnel, they're in attack mode. Even his cadence, which is, there's been a lot made of it, but just dictating to the defense. From a Q rating this year, as far as a head coach goes, I don't know if there's been any that's done more than Mike McCarthy this season.
Yeah, and on the other side of that, his former system, Kellen Moore, one of the winningest quarterbacks in FBS history with Boise State.
Yeah.
And you think about the bad breaks he's had. He was going to be the starting quarterback after Romo goes out. He breaks his foot. We might not even know who Dak Prescott is outside of the SEC if that doesn't happen. He ends up going into coaching, and it seemed like he was going to be tabbed the next head coach in Dallas, Jerry Jones. Then he takes off. He's in LA right now. That staff is in major jeopardy under Brandon Staley.
Yep.
And you just wonder what the future for Kellen Moore is.
Yeah, still unbelievably young. I mean, that's the reality of it, right? I think the Mike McCarthys and those guys will tell you that when they were his age, they were, GAs and working their way up as maybe a position coach. So he's thrust into it early. And in the long run, all of this experience is going to be tremendously beneficial for him. The peaks, the valleys, the ups and downs. Look at McCarthy, right? As I said, run out of Green Bay, ready to be fired, in Dallas, and every year on the hot seat, it seems. But you kind of use all those experience, got to galvanize, you got to make you stronger, and super bright guy. And Kellen will be just fine wherever he ends up on the other side. But, this is kind of the story arc of the NFL, man, right? When you think you've got it figured out, right? When you're ready to write the Giants off, right? When you're ready to just dump the Broncos, right? When you're ready to crown the Seahawks, right? When, no, there's a reason there's 17 games. And it kind of levels the field, and the end of the story and those like last 6-7 chapters are much more valuable than the first few.
The analytics say 99% the Dallas Cowboys are in the postseason. So I'll ask you on the other side, Buffalo, do they get in? Yes or no?
I hope so, man. I for some reason, Lance, I don't know. I don't have that much bias or personal bias for many teams in the NFL, but I do for Buffalo. And maybe it's because I watched what happened in Pullman and Corvallis, and I know this is the NFL, and Buffalo, I hope, isn't going anywhere and never ends up in Toronto. And they're going to build their new stadium, so they should be entrenched right there. But there's something about those markets. There's something about Corvallis and Pullman and Stillwater and Ames that are special. That to me you need in college football. And the NFL has New York and it has LA and it has all those. But when you do games, and I've gotten a chance to do games as an analyst and played in games in Buffalo and in Green Bay. Yeah, there's just something about those environments that are special, and something about the playoffs being better if the Bills are in it.
It is Unlocked with Fox's Brock Huard. I am Lance Taylor for the next round. Disrupt the media. Like, subscribe. Give us that thumbs up. It is always brought to you by our friends at mybookie.ag. Use that code next round. Get that first deposit bonus on the house. It's all right there at mybookie.ag.